Did you guys see this? Basically, like this person writes something about their boyfriend trying to be in a esports team, how to join, talking about like what rank are they, blah 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 blah. Some people are talking about like just playing ranked, getting like posting clips on like Twitter and whatever like that. That's basically like all the answers. I'm just like, look, I've been in esports for 15 years, just about. And I remember when I just first got into esports, there were so many things to play for. There's like Cal, CEVO, ESEA. This was just like after the CGS was dying. But there were so many ways, like you could just join like an IRC channel, find some random team to play scrims for, really easy to set up. Everyone had servers, it was super easy. CEVO, yeah. It was super easy for people to like find people to play with and then just join these open leagues. There were so many open leagues and there's always like an open league happening at any point in time. You never really had to wait like more than a month for the next open league. So like you'd have multiple leagues and they kind of overlapped a little bit. So here's a start and end of one, here's a start and end of another, and it kind of like coincides like that, where you're never really like waiting and there's like nothing to play for. And then like I think I'm gonna go two different routes with this story. Okay, the first route is there was always something to play for and there was always grassroots stuff. And the second thing is there was always like these people that kind of were like the people that breathed life into esports. They were like the unsung heroes. Okay, so it's kind of like what Toast is doing right now, and I guess with like Ludwig and stuff, with Moist, with DSG, you had those types of people way back in the day as well. So they were like the people that kind of, it was esports' lifeline. It's what kept things going. And then you had all of the grassroots operations, all like the local BYOC lands, all the local lands where it wasn't BYOC, they would like have like a LAN cafe and they would just like host a tournament there or something like that. Those are the things that kept esports going to get to the point where it became so big that there's money all over, that they have all these investors and stuff like that. When I got into esports, it was very difficult to make money. People didn't get into esports to make money, really. Like there was no money. Even when I was on iBuyPower before the infamous situation, I still didn't make salary. The only team I was supposed to make salary from was MTW. They didn't pay me. They went bankrupt and I got screwed over massively. Okay. Every other like team I played for didn't give salary, but they would like do stuff to allow you to compete. And by them doing this out of like, some of them weren't even looking for anything. So like in Counter-Strike Source, the game that I started competing in, there were two main teams that I played for, Cyber Revolution and Team Dynamic. And both of those were basically one guy that just really liked esports, that had enough money that they wanted to give back. They didn't want to like get rich off of it. They didn't want to like start a gaming org empire or anything like that. They just liked gaming and they wanted to make sure that other people could continue competing. So they like, it was near cry for Cyber Rev, would just like, you know, pay for flights, get us to lands, pay for like our TeamSpeak servers or a game server, stuff like that. And then just like made sure that we could show up to the LAN, because oftentimes back then you would, even if you got first place at a LAN, like you would go, you'd play like 8 weeks online, you'd play a playoffs, you would fly to a LAN, you would compete, you get first place at that LAN over like 4 months, the whole process. And it cost you more money to fly to the LAN and have a hotel for like 4 nights or something like that than you would get from first place of win. Okay, that's where esports was. So you had these like people like Nearcry, like Johnny5 from Team Dynamic, who would just basically be like, yo, I really like esports, I want to see people like have fun and thrive here. I'm gonna, yeah, fuck it, you want to go to Copenhagen games or something like that, or DS Rack in Copenhagen? Cool, I found these tickets. You have to get down to like New York or New Jersey or whatever, and then, you know, I buy your flights there, you just pay for your own hotels, pay for your own like boot camps thing, and then I got your flights there, no problem. Just wear this jersey and I'm gonna send like a camera guy to film it and maybe like see if we can get a sponsor out of it. Okay, like that's basically like how esports was for a while, where they kind of kept it on lifelines. But there was always something to play for. There was always something to play in. There's always some open tournament. There's always some like BYOC LAN or just like local LAN, any grassroots operation. There was always a way to find a team. So where the fuck am I going with this? I look at where Valorant is right now and I'm just thinking to myself, bro, I've been doing this 15 years. I have a brand. I'm an IGL that's been IGLing for like 15 years, basically. What am I going to play in next? Like, actually, what's the next thing for me to play in? I don't even know. Like, I could do a Knight's monthly gauntlet at the end of the month, and I could do the one the following month. Like, what else? Like, what open leagues are there? What, like, closed leagues are there? Like, there's nothing. What BYOC lands? What, like, local events are there? There's literally nothing. And so this leads into like the second part, where you have like these content creator orgs, where you have Toast with DSG. What happens to challengers right now? The only thing outside of like the partnered VCT teams. What happens if those creators with their orgs and their watch parties aren't involved with tier 2? What happens to the viewership? Who actually cares about these matches? Who's actually like helping kind of give this lifeline out? This is such a weird situation. This is so weird because like in Counter-Strike Go, until I guess COVID, until like Valorant came out, like people were saying NACS was dead. And there was still like MDL, there were still cash cups, there was still like Rank S and FPL, there was still like stuff to compete in. There were still local lands. I remember when I was in Toronto, there were like at least 2 different local lands there every year. There were like Fragadelphias. There was like all sorts of stuff that people can compete in. And then like people were still saying at that point, NACS is dead because like it's just like up way on a pedestal is the tier 1 pros, the pro league teams and stuff like that. And then there's like huge drop off and then it just feels like everyone else is kind of down here. But you could still kind of figure out like, hey, if I want to get on a team, how do I do it? You join this open league, you start like networking, you get better and better, you advance to the leagues, and there's an intermediate, main, advanced, blah, blah, blah. You make it to MDL, you start on a low MDL team, you make it to the mid MDL team, to the high MDL teams. And if you're good enough, a pro team's gonna come in and say like, hey, you wanna try out. I don't know in Valorant what you do here. I don't. I really don't know what someone's supposed to do to kind of like work their way up in this game. I really don't know. And that's concerning and that's a little scary because that's not what's going to happen. What's going to happen when a lot of these pros that don't have anything to do for the next 6 months and all these orgs pull out and these players stop getting paid salary, where do they go? Do they start streaming? Well, not all of them are going to make it as streamers. Do they go back to school? Like, where do they go? Do they start going to other games? What's going to happen to the tier 2 Valorant scene when that happens? And then what's going to be the pipeline still after that to get from tier 3, whatever that means, all the way into tier 1? What's the pipeline? How are these players scouted? How are they supposed to develop? Who's supposed to develop them? What exists? So I think like part of why we need people like Toast and Ludwig, Penguinzo, or I don't know what the fuck his name is, sorry, Charlie, with Moist, with DSG, it's giving viewership, it's keeping people interested in this, and then it's giving it life where it might not have even had life. It's giving careers to where people might not even had careers. And it's creating opportunities for people to potentially work their way up the pipeline. And scary that if those orgs pull out, what might happen? In Europe, there's VRC to VCL to VCT. VRC is an open league with the LAN events. Yeah, I have no idea what happens in Valorant if those content creator orgs pull out and all the other orgs also pull out. Like what happens? What do you do? There's not enough grassroots events. There's not enough like people can't make careers out of this. Like people are just gonna have to like bail out and go somewhere else.